Bonjour et bienvenue à cette conférence virtuelle qui s'inscrit dans le cadre des Midis-conférences des jeunes chercheurs du centre de recherche en droit prospectif. Mon nom est Lady Rivazano et je coordonne ce cycle de conférences avec ma collègue Eve Gaumont qui vous présentera la conférence du jour. La conférencière que nous accueillons aujourd'hui a pour nom Madame Lingqiao, qui est détentrice d'un baccalauréat en biologie et d'une maîtrise en droit civil de l'Académie chinoise des sciences sociales. En 2015, elle a terminé son deuxième master en droit international des affaires à l'Université de Montréal, où elle a reçu un Dean Award meilleur résultat académique global. En 2016, elle a été admise comme avocate chinoise et travaille comme consultante juridique pour le cabinet d'avocats ANRA en Chine. Elle est également membre du comité d'examen institutionnel de la faculté de médecine de l'université de McGill et assistante du responsable de l'accès aux données du CIGC. Au centre de génomique et de politique, Lingqiao travaille avec le professeur Yann Joly et Madame Idan Nguyen-Fez sur les questions éthiques, juridiques et sociales, du génie génétique tel que le droit de la propriété intellectuelle en biotechnologie, l'utilisation abusive de l'information génétique en dehors du contexte thérapeutique, les approches politiques pour lutter contre la discrimination génétique, le partage mondial des données de la biobanque et le cadre réglementaire des tests génétiques microbiologiques.
For reasons that are obvious now, we have talked quite a bit about healthcare policies in China in the past year. But China being this country which is quite different from us and really far away, we have sometimes a hard time to fully grasp what those policies mean. Lingqiao Song is a Chinese-trained lawyer. In this talk, she presents the Chinese conception of justice, how it evolved through time, and how it influenced the genomic policies in China in the country.
Hello, everyone. This is Lingqiao Song, a PhD student at the McGill University. I'm also academic associate at the Center of Genomics and Policy. I'm a Chinese lawyer who had legal training from China and also Canada. Today, I will share some thoughts on the Chinese perception of justice and how it influences genomic data sharing in the world pandemic, COVID-19. As you can see on the slide, most of us may be very familiar with the photo on the left side. It's a lady justice who represents justice in the Western country. However, what you may not know is the divine beast on the right side, what we call it Zhi. Zhi also plays the similar role in the ancient China. Zhi is a divine beast who can determine right and wrong. Zhi will use his horn to touch a person who is guilty and to discard things which are not upright or not just. In this sense, we know that the sense of justice is also existent in ancient China and works as a principle to examine legal cases. But what does the concept of justice mean in the ancient China and contemporary China? How the concept of justice may influence policy in the global pandemic COVID-19. So let's start our journey. Today, I will have three main parts. The first part, I will explore the concept of justice in the ancient China. We all know that the concept of justice is amorphous. It is so abstract, even in the literature. It makes our research about the Chinese concept of justice is even harder, if it is possible. Unlike any other language, like Latin or Anglo-Saxon language, we cannot even find a word corresponding to justice. The Chinese concept of justice varies widely, depends on how the translator translates justice into Chinese. However, there are some clues in the Chinese language itself. As we all know, Chinese language is hieroglyph, which means the structure will tell you the meaning of the character. Therefore, we will rely on this tool to explore the meaning of justice. The second part is about the concept of justice in the contemporary China. And the third part, we will review the human genomic data sharing policy in the COVID-19 pandemic and to see how the principle of justice applies to very specific cases. The book on the left is A Theory of Justice written by Jeunes Chercheurs. And the book on the right is actually a Chinese translation called 正义论. However, if we look up the word justice in the English to Chinese dictionary, we can find there are a variety of translation of justice in Chinese, not only one translation for justice. So let's first look up justice in the Cambridge Dictionary. So it gives us several Chinese meaning of justice, which is 公正, 公平, 正义. However, it doesn't give us so much information. And then we look up these Chinese terms which we get from the Cambridge Dictionary and look into the Chinese to English dictionary and to see what those terms mean. So 正义 means justice, 公正 means impartial, 正直 means upright, and 公平 means fair. And we can see there are several characters, even though you don't understand Chinese language, but we can still see there are some characters repeatedly appear in these terms. And they should have something to do with justice, the meaning of justice. That in order to understand the meaning of these four characters, I just refer to the ancient Chinese dictionary in Han Dynasty called 说文解字, which can be translated into discussing, writing, and explaining characters. It was the first dictionary to analyze the structure of the character and to explain the meaning behind. I also refer to the Kangxi dictionary to complement my understanding about these characters. The first character is Zheng. As you can see, the up part of the character means number one. Here means number one. And the below part means stop. The meaning of Zheng is to prevent wrongful behavior. This character is the synonym for Zheng, which is 直. As you can see, this part means 10, the number 10. And here it means eyes, your eyes. And this means cannot hide. So the character means be straight and not twist because there are 10 eyes on you. In summary, the Chinese concept of justice contains the meaning of right, upright, without hiding. which can be inferred from these two characters, 正 and 直. And here is another character called 义. There are also two parts of the character. The up part means lamb or sheep, and here it means weapon. So in ancient China, before the war, there is a grand tribute to the heaven and hope the heaven will bless. Sheep is deemed as the most tasty food and usually be used as a tribute. Yi is an essential value of Confucius. The character in the middle is simplified. Here is simplified writing, which is used today. And this character means 礼仪, means etiquette. So these two words, these two characters, sometimes they are interchangeable in the Asian Chinese language. So 仪 means sheep and weapon, and it indicates a behavior and ritual propriety. This character shown here means public. The above part, there are two strokes. One is to the left and the other is to the right, like people sitting back to back. And this part means private. So the character means against the private or contrary to the private, which is public. So in this sense, Chinese justice has a connotation of not being self-centered. It's a collectivism ideology behind. Right, symmetry. It also means balance different interests and to keep a balance or equal. After reviewing the Chinese characters, and let's see the origin of the word, the English word justice. And we can see Old English justice has a connotation of administration of the law. However, this connotation is not contained by the Chinese justice. As we all know, Chinese society is significantly influenced by the Confucius. So there are some literature talking about the Confucius concept of justice. So from this sentence, as we can see, there's a sense of fair distribution. In addition, Confucius discusses a relation between the rule of law and the rule of morality. As we all know, the filial piety is a fundamental principle of the Confucius. If one's parents commit a crime, and the son, you cannot report your parents, but to cover them. Under these circumstances, the law gives way to filial piety and the closest family relationships between parents and sons. There is still some room to balance other social interests with law. To achieve a society of filial piety, because according to Confucius, if everyone complies with rules within a family to respect for their parents, they will also subordinate to their supervisors or the empire in the society. Therefore, justice is in a strong relationship with filial piety and social morality in ancient China. This feature also lingers in the modern China. And finally, we come to the conclusion of the Asian Chinese concept of justice, shown here. In the Chinese context, justice has connotation of fair, impartial justice, and upright. And in Western context, justice has a connotation of law, which is missing in Chinese concept. However, there are some special features can change by the Chinese concept of justice, which is public interest, behavior and ritual propriety, public order, filial piety, and to achieve harmonious social order. From what I'm saying, this part is missing from the Western concept of justice, or it is special features of the Chinese concept of justice. Now we come to the second part, the concept of justice in contemporary China. As we all know, People's Republic of China was founded in 1949 by the Communist Party. The current legal system is also formed since then. Here are some renowned legal scholars and how their views on the concept of justice. Now let's see how 公平 is working as a legal principle and 正义 is the national goal of the PRC. So 公平 is actually a legal principle has been used in the civil law. 公平 and 正义 are two terms mentioned in the harmonious society, which is proposed by the Communist Party as the national goal. Therefore, we can conclude that the concept of justice in contemporary China. So let's remember these two ideas. First is to balance different interests, and the second is to achieve a harmonious society. There's two main ideas of the Chinese concept of justice. And let's see how the principle of justice applies to the genomic data sharing during the COVID-19 pandemic. So there are three main concerns before the pandemic for sharing human genetic resources with other countries. The first one is national security. The second is national competitiveness. And third is the biopiracy. For more explanation and description, you can refer to this article. So myself and my colleague, we outlined a very detailed description of these three main concerns. However, after the WHO announced COVID is the global pandemic, this interest or the main concern have been changed. So it turns to the public health and global responsibility and solidarity to combat the pandemic together. That is the main concern now taken by the Chinese government. Data sharing process to face the globally challenged public health emergency. And let's check what are the genomic data sharing policy in the COVID-19 pandemic. Even though there are some criticisms for lack of transparency over the coronavirus in the beginning, But in China, there is a saying called "action speaks louder than words." So let's review how the Chinese government has been done. More activities have been done by the Chinese institutions and also the Chinese government to share genomic data regarding COVID-19 with a solidarity goal to combat the pandemic. So now we come to our conclusion. The Chinese concept of justice does contain values such as fair distribution, impartiality, upright, and such values which has already known to the Western countries. But it also means balancing different interests from different stakeholders. And the concept is very dynamic and relational, which means because interests are different at different stage. So the concept of justice is also dynamic to meet different needs. However, the final goal is to achieve harmonious society. Since China is an integral part of the globe, of the whole world, so especially in this global public emergency, you cannot be isolated from other countries. So China is definitely an integral part of the whole world. So the harmonious society, the idea to achieve harmonious society is consistent with to collaborate and to collaborate with other researchers and to share data and to collaborate on different genomic research projects to achieve a harmonious globe, which is virus-free, at least COVID-free. Acknowledgement and key resource references. Thank you, CRDP gives me this opportunity to present the Chinese concept of justice. And I hope I can write a perfect paper which can be shared with other colleagues and let more people to know the concept of justice. And thank you, Center of Genomics and Policy and Professor Yan Zhili. He's my supervisor. And you can also see the key references. And also you have my email on the first slide. And if you have any questions, and you're welcome to discuss with me.